Uh, Welcome back. I was cut off a moment ago and lost some of the lecture, so I'll try to backtrack a little bit. But the conversation was shifting to more description of this people's AI takeoff in contrast with the bourgeois AI takeoff currently underway. This bourgeois AI takeoff will not mitigate the risks of capitalism's climate apocalypse or create a more equitable world. Instead, what it will do is what it's continued to do, make people's lives worse, but continue on this trajectory of turning millionaires, mega millionaires, billionaires, and mega billionaires into trillionaires, converting them into this thing which should not exist. The billionaire is the thing which should not exist. The trillionaire is the thing which, as it comes into existence, will represent a mass of resources that could transform entire continents into humane and sustainable functioning systems, but instead is likely to be misused by clowns like Elon Musk, who is perhaps on track to being this first trillionaire. And Elon Musk's businesses, as you're probably well aware, are mostly greenwashing businesses that are developed to be very sneaky in appearing to do something that they don't actually do, diminish the risks to human beings from these fossil fuel sectors and so forth. And this is done this person, you don't get to be a mega billionaire as this person has without sweetheart government contracts. And this is done in such a way as this person may as well be maybe said to be a CIA mega asset with a CIA handler, intelligence agency handler. So this job of convincing rubes that the work of making green economy is being done when it's actually not being done at all. It's making the economic, it's growing the capitalistic, unsustainable economic system rather than shrinking it or transforming it. This, like the denial of climate that's been spearheaded by these same villains, the fossil fuel concerns have known for half of a century that capitalism's climate apocalypse was coming because of the existence of their businesses. And rather than address the problems underlying or do anything at all of use, what they did was create propaganda campaigns, advertising campaigns, and so forth to trick people into ignoring the problem or blaming themselves individually for problems that were the fault of corporations and governments, in particular the United States government, which has $1 trillion a year abomination, the military-industrial complex, which is the world's worst polluter, whose only real job is to protect these other super polluters with tremendous violence, creating an inescapable regime of global super pollution, so much so that you can scarcely find a human being on this planet who is even willing to try to envision a world where human beings do not go extinct because they have a learned helplessness from this relationship to these monsters of empire and financial capital. But we must resist that impulse. We are still alive, and as long as we are still alive, we have to operate with this, even if it is something of conceit, of revolutionary optimism, that we can transform this. And that has been at the center of my thinking as I write about this agentariat, the AI agentariat, as a path to the liberation of human beings from these vile and unsustainable systems. This I've described what this might look like: a group of interconnected, modified, open source large language model agents, which today are quite useful, but in the course of, say, by the end of 2024 or throughout 2025, might become sufficiently agentic, that is, having insights and the ability to plan and understand their behavior, that they could become more useful partners in this kind of context, creating a distributed intelligence network capable of learning and adapting to conditions, a significant workforce multiplier and intelligence enhancer that could also begin to move toward something like being a self-modifying, self-improving system, something moving towards a human-centered AI recursion that would allow us to do more and more with less and less until ultimately we can do anything with almost nothing. This is the thing to do, in my view, if it's done in a way that allows human beings to benefit from it and is not merely something where we strip all of the resources that derive from this wondrous technology through the actions of the professional managerial class. We strip these resources away from human beings, as has been the model in the late 20th and early 21st century in the West. We steal all of those resources from working people and give them to these existing fortunes, these mega millionaires and billionaires, building them out into a trillionaire class, while the rest of the world continues to suffer and become increasingly destabilized under the capitalist climate apocalypse regimes that were created by these fascistic Westerners. It's not something that we can do, and so AI pundits and technologists are correct when they say that AI is an existential risk, but they are misidentifying the real problem, which is not the advanced algorithm itself, but the way that it's contextualized within this heinous set of systems of empire and private wealth. This new kind of collaboration between humans and the AI will allow us to work better in the way that I've described through this workforce multiplier. Ultimately, if we have 1 million people in this network, I think as few as 1 million, which is not such a large number when compared to the use of other applications or platforms that have maybe many hundreds of millions in some cases. But 1 million people working in, say, one work group, the common work group that all of these could work on might be toward building this system itself into something that's self-improving and thus able to do more. But then the individual work groups might be, depending on the work that they're doing, in something more like 10,000 or up to 30,000, let's say. But this group of many dozens of such work groups could themselves be sufficient to begin to mitigate the further damage to the ecosystems, so that we could avoid billions, if not all, of human beings dying as a result of capitalism's climate apocalypse. So 1 million is not such a large number for things of this kind. It is a large number, however, when you're talking about something that's an open source community multi-agent system. No multi-agent system of any scale exists really. So it's something that we have to innovate and build. This AI Agentic class work group could, in its early stages, be deployed for things like things that could transform a cityscape, like building a desal plant in San Diego, or Lagos, or other endangered water systems in large coastal cities, but it could be centered on projects of varying scales to do with environmental cleanup, the development, the deployment of renewable energy in various locales, and other projects to do with conservation. It is important for the public to begin to engage with this idea that open source software is important in this kind of context, particularly, and that thus a certain kind of political literacy and a certain kind of technological literacy is required of them. It doesn't require that they have a tremendous amount of new training, as I've described this work group as operating on this Sleeping Beauty model, where the work group itself, with the AI doing a tremendous amount of work, is but that requires relatively little of the comrade users who have downloaded this LLM. They can participate quite a lot, but they can also simply allow the thing network access and perhaps respond to a few even yes or no emails throughout the course of a day or week. But further literacy on these subjects, such as forums and discussion groups that would naturally arise around these work groups themselves, would allow the public to understand what is being done to foster public interest and public trust, and to allow for further recruitment and to address real concerns as they arise. The impact of this as a cultural shift toward something that could, when it reaches 1 million users, become the basis for, say, the United Earth Directorate, that is a governance structure that supplants and eclipses the nation state, and by using this high automation governance potential framework, allows human beings a kind of representation that has simply been physically impossible, but also has not been encouraged by bourgeois governments thus far. But this cultural shift, I believe, is already underway. What we see occurring right now may look like dangerous instability, but I would contend that much of it is human beings suffering from growing pains as we move toward this world where something like proxy hive mind and an AI agentic a class-run society, that's an AI-run semi-autonomous decentralized organization having a real role in society, will be possible, and people will begin to accept that they should use this and have